Hello everyone. If you've opened up your Twitter feed in the last few days, you've no doubt seen an influx of
I am a surgeon! I am a surgeon! Dr. Hahn! No, stop it, no.
All these clips come from an American cable show called The Good Doctor. Naturally, my interest was piqued and I decided to watch through the show to see, oh my god, there's 5 seasons. Wait, 116 episodes? Naturally, my interest was piqued, and I decided to watch through 3 episodes of the show to see what all the fuss was about. House MD is a show... Wait, isn't this supposed to be about the Good Doctor? Oh no, this is just context for the rest of the video. Also, this entire bit is in the script, including this picture of Sal from Impractical Jokers. House MD is a show that aired between 2004 and 2012, starring Hugh Laurie, and written by David Shaw. Remember him? We will come back to him. The show was very popular, and whilst I haven't watched it myself, I have done what most Zoomers have, and I've just watched clips of it as it appears on my TikTok feed.
You know why you're black?
Because God loves me more than he loves you.
The show seemed to stick to the format of patient comes in with a problem, doctors can't figure out what's wrong or they misdiagnose, the protagonist then calls everyone stupid and actually explains what's going on, saving the day and being very witty whilst doing it. Again, remember this, it will be important later. The show hasn't aged particularly well.
Could cause arrhythmia and fainting. Inappropriate.
But I'll put that aside for now. House MD isn't the topic for today's video. This is Good Doctor. Oh, for fuck's sake. Good Doctor is a Korean TV show about a doctor with autism and savant syndrome. Savant syndrome is a rare condition some people get, and whilst they have severe mental disabilities, they're actually incredibly intelligent. The show ran for 1 season and, I don't know, people seem to like it, but enough about houses and good doctors. I don't care about any old good doctor, we want the Good Doctor. The Good Doctor is a comedy, medical drama, starring Freddie Highmore of Willy Wonka fame.
He has got a ticket! He's mine! Yippee!
It was written by House MD's own David Shaw. The show follows the format of patient comes in with a problem, doctors either can't figure out what's wrong or misdiagnose. However, the difference between this and House MD is whilst House would just sort of act really cocky or call everyone stupid, the Good Doctor's protagonist, his name is Sean, has autism superpowers. Every episode, he'll have a eureka moment and use his powers to figure out what's wrong with patients. His autism doesn't just give him superpowers though, he also acts like this.
I would expect this to have been caused by a more serious accident. Questions usually imply sarcasm, which I found people often answer sarcastically.
Do you get it? Do you get that he is autistic yet? The show has been criticised heavily recently for its portrayal of autistic people, but we'll get into that later. For now, we're just going to actually watch the show and see what it's like. I picked 3 episodes to watch, the first one being Season 1, Episode 5, 0.3%. A son arrives at his father's house. There's clearly some bad blood between them, but before they can reconcile, the father falls over and has a heart attack.
I know just the guy.
I know a guy.
Really sorry. Just hold on, Dad.
Wakanda music starts playing. He gets taken to the hospital where we also catch up with the Good Doctor talking to a young patient with a broken arm. This young patient happens to look like Sean's younger brother who died when he was a kid. Sean suspects there's something else wrong with the patient besides just the broken arm, so he takes him in for an MRI. This proves Sean's theory as the patient actually has a brain tumour. However, the parents already know about the cancer, they've just made the decision to not tell their son. Because of his condition, Sean struggles to lie to people. This is where the main drama for this episode comes in. Sean wants to tell the kid he has cancer, but the parents don't want him to know. This leads to Sean, the Good Doctor, by the way, just straight up going into the room and fucking telling him.
You have cancer.
A few scenes later, Sean is looking through the patient's scans again and uses his autism powers to come to the conclusion
Evan doesn't have cancer.
Sean consults other doctors on his findings, but as it turns out, there is a very small chance Sean is actually right. They don't want to give the parents or Evan false hope, so they just all tell Sean not to tell them about it. They'll do more research and get a more conclusive result. So what does the Good Doctor do? He just goes in the room and fucking tells him.
Might not be osteosarcoma, might be Langerhans cell histiocytosis. which is treatable.
The parents end up barging in and an argument ensues. Evan starts coughing up blood, so he's taken into surgery. It goes well and his final results are back. Turns out he did have cancer and the false hope Sean gave them is clearly devastating. Then the episode ends. The Good Doctor, by the way. This next episode had a clip from it that went viral on Twitter. It's an episode that deals with trans people. This episode is probably one of the funniest cut to titles I've ever seen. Sean is called to come help diagnose a young patient with stomach pain. Here's the scene that follows.
That's a...
Penis. He's not a girl, he's a boy.
The following scene went viral on weird conservative Twitter because the based and red-pilled Good Doctor owned the patient with facts and logic. Spoiler alert, it turns out she actually has cancer. So this is unironically that one Ben Shapiro owns cancer patient video, except it's not ironic, it's just fucking real. Also something really funny, the girl that plays the patient ended up ratioing the weirdo that posted the original video, so that's something I guess, good for her. Also, she straight up admits that some of the writing hasn't aged well, so... This episode is a hard one to discuss. I don't feel like I'm in a position to talk about what's good or bad trans representation, but looking on Twitter, it seems like I already have my answer. I do think this episode comes from a place of good intentions. I'm doing the finger thing, but obviously you can't see that. The Good Doctor's arc in this episode is essentially him respecting the patient as a girl and trying to understand her. There's this scene where Sean questions the patient and why she thinks she's a girl.
The kids at school didn't understand me, so they picked on me. When my parents let me be me, I felt like I didn't have to pretend anymore. I felt free, like when you're in a pool and you just let go and float.
The episode then ends on Sean going to a pool and floating, and when asked what he's doing, he says,
Understanding.
This is actually kind of sweet. I don't know, it's the type of clip that won't go viral on Twitter just because it shows that whilst the show still isn't very good, it has a heart. My main issue of this episode is that I feel it gives way too much weight to the both sides have good points argument, and whether it's intentional or not, they're very sneaky in how they do this. So Quinn, the patient, is on hormone blockers. A rare condition that can result from taking hormone blockers is low bone density. This can cause developmental issues and all this stuff, but we won't get into that. Here's where the issue lies. Quinn is presented with two choices. Remove just the cancerous part and stop taking hormone blockers, causing her to go through a male puberty, or go through full gender reassignment surgery and lose the ability to have kids in the future. Those are the two choices presented. Remember that, whilst Quinn is more than on board with doing the surgery, her grandmother isn't so keen. They go into this meeting room and have a discussion with Quinn's parents. The grandma doesn't believe in all this transgender stuff. This leads to the parents discussing how difficult things were for Quinn when she had to present as male. She even attempted to kill herself. Going through a male puberty could be life-threatening for Quinn. So what do they decide? They decide not to perform the surgery and let Quinn go through a male puberty. Now look, I get it. Performing a surgery like this on a minor is not something that is uncontroversial, but there's an even bigger issue than that in this show. Remember when I presented those two options earlier? Well, whilst doing research for this video, it turns out there was actually a third option that they just don't fucking bring up. Had Quinn gone off the puberty blockers and not gone through the gender reassignment surgery, all she had to do was start hormone replacement therapy, and her bone density issue would be solved along with not having to go through a male puberty. Now, why doesn't the show bring this up? Because for the both sides argument to have any weight, the writers had to literally not mention it. Again, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but regardless, it's kind of fucked up. So overall, I think this episode is the perfect example of why you shouldn't write about sensitive topics if you aren't an expert in that topic. Like I said before, I do think it's mostly well-intentioned, with things like Sean essentially becoming an ally by the end. The other doctors also push back against his initial transphobia, but there's still too much fuckery going on in this episode for me to give it a pass. Okay, time for a fun one.
The surgeon, Dr. Hunt!
So the episode opens with Sean already demoted from being a surgeon by Dr. Han. So let's rewind and get context. Sean gets demoted from being a surgeon to a pathologist due to his inability to properly communicate with patients. Now, demoting someone purely based on the fact they're autistic would typically be pretty ableist. However, looking at Sean's track record...
You have cancer. She's not a girl, he's a boy.
It's completely understandable. He's disrespected patients and given parents of dying children false hope. The hero, Dr. Han, instead puts Sean in the pathology department. This way Sean can still save lives and work as a doctor without communicating with patients. Looking at the wiki for Dr. Han, his skill set includes manipulation and intimidation. His crimes include abuse, blackmail, and unlawful termination. He's also supposedly a xenophobic blackmailer, so I don't want to defend him too much because God knows what he gets up to in the future. But honestly, I can understand this decision to put Sean in pathology. Dr. Han even lets Sean consult on a surgery in this episode, so you know he's not completely cutting him out of the operating room. The episode ends on Sean confronting Dr. Han, telling him he won't leave his office until he gets his job back. This is where the most popular clip of the show comes in. Sean has a breakdown and we get possibly the greatest piece of autistic representation since Sia's movie on autism.
I am a surgeon! I am a surgeon! I am a surgeon! Dr. Han!
And scene. The show's autistic representation has received a little backlash. It's very strange because House MD, which was written by the same guy, was not nearly as blatant and overdone as this. This brings us to...
Hi there, I'm Freddie Highmore.
Freddie Highmore is an English actor who you'll probably know from either Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Bates Motel. It can be easy to blame Freddie for a lot of the show's faults, but I don't actually think it's his fault, or at least it's not entirely his fault. I haven't seen Bates Motel, but it seems mostly enjoyed by critics and audiences, and looking at some clips on YouTube, it's evident that Freddie does have some acting chops. Norman Bates is another neurodivergent character, and Freddie plays him much better here. Again, I've not seen this show, so if there's something incredibly bad about it, I don't know about it, don't at me. Also, doing research for this video, I discovered Rihanna stars in an episode of the show, and get this, she plays fucking Marion Crane, the protagonist from the original Psycho. I just thought that was something. Overall, whilst I wouldn't call this a good performance, I don't entirely blame Freddie. Something terribly wrong has happened during the conception of this show, leading to this overdramatic take on the autistic experience. This is where my main takeaway from this show comes into play. Whether it be trans issues, autism, or any other serious topic, you need to handle the subject with care and respect. From what I could find, the show doesn't have any autistic writers, and the only organisation I can see that they've teamed up with is Autism Speaks, a famously regressive company that frames autism as something frightening. Not a great look. Overall, I can't really say that I love this show. I think there's just so much to discuss about it, but I don't want this video's length to get out of hand, so I'll just end it off with some much better examples of autistic representation in media. If you like this video, let me know, and who knows, maybe I'll do a part 2, I'll revisit the show, or watch some other insane cable American shows. Thanks for watching, join our Discord if that's your thing, and that's about it. Catch you later.